I think £2 a week would also have been just about what the mortgage repayment was in the 30s on most of these houses. So I don't suppose many coal miners lived around here. Or any other workers for that matter. The average industrial wage was just under £3. There were a number of big council estates like St Helier and Becontree. But in general, this colossal folk wandering was confined to the middle classes. Though things changed a bit as the process continued through the 30s. Because, of course, continue it did. It couldn't be switched off. When this estate was built, it was just 3 streets in the country. They ended precisely here, where the tarmac stops. Then there was a pond and a rolling landscape of open farmland. Then the pond was filled in and concreted over, and the whole rolling landscape became a vast rolling streetscape. And we were living in the country no longer. Because this is backfill, closing the gap between our little rural community and the metropolis, making us part of London. I watched these houses going up in the late 30s. They were built by Gleeson's, one of the big developers. Good class Tudor property, built on a brisk modern industrial scale. The other gaps between Ewell and London were being filled at the same time. Big estates were going up around the other 2 stations that serve the district, Ewell West and Stoneleigh. The sign's still just legible. You can get a wimpy detached house for £725 freehold, 17 and 5 weekly. House prices and mortgage rates were falling. By 1932 already, you could get a semi with 2 recep and 3 bed for just under £400. Weekly repayment, 10 shillings or so, within the range of the better paid manual workers. Not here at Stoneleigh, though. As the brochure for one firm explains, the developers know that cheap houses mean inferior tenants, which would not tone with Stoneleigh Park. The cinema was having an effect on the architecture by this time. There's an exotic breath of Hollywood modern and Hollywood Spanish among the Tudor here. In fact, the lark does continue to trill at Ewell. No thanks to the developers who composed that brochure, or to Gleeson's here, or to the Southern Railway. They'd all have gone right on through the fields if they'd had their way. In fact, the London Passenger Transport Board, who controlled the underground, couldn't see any other way out of their problems. The outer suburbs filled up, so they lost passengers in the inner districts. They believed the only solution was to go on expanding London indefinitely. But in fact, London stopped right here in Ewell. And the man who stopped it was Hitler. Now all this is Greenbelt. It's designated as school playing fields. But it's not playing fields yet, it's still farmed. And how the heart lifts when you walk out into it. Back there in the world of streets and houses, you're living under the grid of someone else's imagination. Everything's been shaped and formulated. Our own imagination sits idle. But here there's raw material for it to work on. When we were children, these meadows seemed as vast as prairies. We'd spend whole days here, navigating them in storm-racked sloops and schooners, colonizing them with chains of camps and bases. We had one secret camp in this hedge, and another one on the other side of that plantation. Up this tree it was. I think it's dead now. I've got the elm disease. I can't believe it's still standing. We cut poles in the plantation back there and nailed them across the fork here to make a platform. Oh my God, the nails are still there. Spent days up here too. Doing what? Can't remember now. Navigating again mostly, I think. One of us down here on the foredeck, another one up aloft to work the sails, beating out across the fairways of the Cullington Golf Course. That was the other thing we did. When a golf ball came rolling along down here into the rough, we'd shin down the rope we had fixed to the platform, we'd grab the ball and quickly shin up again. Then later we'd dodge on through the thickets between the fairways, keeping a sharp eye out for kestrels and grass snakes and German parachutists. And we'd sell the ball back to the professional in the clubhouse. It's down there. You can turn off the golf course and walk across the North Lewes small holdings. Still selling eggs at some of these places. There used to be a sign outside one of them saying, "We scorn the foreign yoke." Still got cows. Still got pigs. And if you dodge through one last small estate of very select Elizabethan manor houses, you're out onto Epsom Downs. And now you really are out into open country. Keep going across the golf links here, and you walk right across Epsom Racecourse, over Box Hill, and onto the coast. And when they developed the estate by Tatlon Corner over there, they let their imaginations roam even further. Amid the fairyland of Surrey, said the advertising, swept by sweet air direct from the southern seas, where illness is unknown. And back there behind us in the haze, 15 miles away, London. Cathedrals and towers, every inch surfaced and shaped and saturated with human design. And lapping against the downs, the great grey muddle of the suburbs. Suburban sprawl. That's what town planners call it. And it's true, it wasn't properly planned at all. But isn't that what makes it tolerable? Worcester Park and Motspur Park and Manor Park, East Ham and North Harrow and South Croydon, they all just happened. Take the estate where we lived. The developer was a local estate agent called Henry Banks Longley. When he first came here in 1925, this was a farm belonging to one of the local landowners. Longley bought it, then he went to the Rural District Council. The housing committee, which consisted of the squire, the vicar, and various other people from the village, gave him an interim development order under the 1925 Town Planning Act. Oh, they had town planning then. Or at any rate, they could see it coming. Then Longley, the developer, sold off the field lot by lot to various small builders. A man called Arthur Searle built all or most of Hillside. This was in 1928. Impossible to find out anything now about these small firms. They've gone and all the documents with them, if there ever were any. It's like trying to research some obscure event in the 12th century. But I met one retired builder who put up one of the houses round the corner in Queensmead. He told me that Searle had about a dozen men. This was in summer. In winter, he'd lay them all off. It was cottage industry. It was folk craft. The builders didn't even surface the roads. They left them as swamps. They had to be drained by the householders and made up by the council later. And quite how Searle has arranged the various different types of house, it's impossible to guess. They seem quite random. Also, they've been much altered since by their owners. There's a complete New house here, built since the war in the side garden of number 9. And there are 2 more around the corner in Queensmead, including the first one, numbered now -1. These houses are a loose fit. They're a loose fit in space. They're a loose fit in design. So they can be adapted to fit their owner's needs and fancies. This one's had a whole new wing added. You can see where the tiles change colour. Building an extra bit at number 17 too. And this is my old house. It's got weatherboarding on the gable now. Didn't have weatherboarding when we lived here. Well, what's wrong with a bit of weatherboarding if that's what you feel like? In fact, it's such a success, they put some on the house next door as well. The whole house has been transformed since we lived here. It's a rather desirable property now. It wasn't then. It was bald and basic and rather knocked about by a doodlebug which landed just up the road in 1944. Hello, Mrs. Gale. How are you today? Come in.
Nice to see you.
This is Mr. and Mrs. Gale, who lived here for the last 20 years. We didn't even own it when we lived here. We rented it for £73 a year from the local timber merchant. I should think he got it from Arthur Searle, the builder, in lieu of payment for his timber and joinery bill. Still, my sister and I got endless pleasure out of it. In the war, we used to use this corridor here as an air raid shelter because it had up the windows in it, and that cupboard under the stairs there. And in fact, we were sleeping here the night the doodlebug landed up the road. And I rather think this place saved my life because the doodlebug made a frightful mess. It blew all the windows in, brought down all the ceilings, blew the front door off its hinges. And in the morning, there was the most colossal lump of twisted lead and window glass on my pillow upstairs. And upstairs, there are great spaces under the eaves where my sister and I established secret headquarters. This is where we used to be. Used to roast almonds over a little burner we put here, a little oil lamp. There was this ledge over the French windows. We used to climb out on there at night for dares. And there was a water barrel in the corner for climbing up onto the garage roof. And there was a coal shed for hiding in. The whole garden's been transformed. It was still very new and bald when we moved in. There it is, with bare board fences. And me brooding on the problems of suburban development at the age of 1 3/4. The garden's just changed now. I mean, now it's open. You've taken the old hedge away.
Intention when we first came, you see that.
Later on, it had to accommodate an air raid shelter. And 4 khaki Campbell ducks who supplied us with eggs during the war. My sister and I gave it an awful beating. Cricket, campfires, learning to ride a bicycle. Various coal mines I dug and tunnels to Australia. And the ducks were even worse. Now look at it. Neat, contained. You could sit here on a fine summer's afternoon, the lords of the manor, the only people for miles around.